Καλημέρα. Welcome to Technological and Educational Institute of Crete here in Heraklion. Shall we begin? How about you introduce yourself a bit?
Yeah, thanks. My name is Rόμπ Ντρίμινγκ. I'm a carrier, a facilitator and a trainer of something called Way of Council. I also work for the European Council Network, which is a voluntary organisation, and I'm one of 5 people that carry the thread for the organisation through the year. And our idea is to just bring awareness, help with trainings, and bring council really to Europe.
So what is exactly this Way of Council?
It's a great question. So the word council, just to take that word first, is a general word for people who come together to meet in some kind of circle, to celebrate, to share ideas, to share food, and to really work with their personal and collective intelligence. It's a great way. It's a very ancient way also. I think from the beginning of time, people have been coming together in this way. And really, the idea of the council is to meet a community and see how it can support. It's not a mission to change the community, it's really there as a tool to support the community to be what it wants to be.
Does it have any connections to the ancient Greece? They had a talk piece called Kyriakio, and you passed around and you talked with it.
Yes, I've heard this, and I need to do a bit more research for myself. I've heard that also they used something called a talking piece in the Iliad also.
Does Way of Council help in conflict resolution?
It's a very broad, it's a precise question, but actually it's addressing a very broad field here. Because what I found that council does is it engenders a field of cooperation. It really helps people to bond together, to grow and build relationships over time. In the circle, we say that if someone is in conflict, in fact, it's everyone's conflict. We all partake of that. And we then as a group work with it. It's not just about you if you have a conflict. Oh, he has a conflict, but we're okay. It's not like that at all. You are really part of this circle. And we take the time to work through it. We don't call it conflict resolution, we more call it conflict exploration, because we're not really there to fix or have an agenda like that. But I can tell you that through the exploration of this in the council way, about 90% of it really solves or gives medicine.
It helps to understand each other.
Yes.
So there won't be any conflicts in the future.
Right. There'll always be conflict. If there's a specific conflict that can't be worked on so easily, there are council forms that bring people together.
Are there any rules in this Way of Council?
Great. Yes, there are we call them guidelines or intentions. If I say rules, it tends to conjure something that I have to follow and I can't break them or I want to break them to be a rebellious, something like that. So we call them intentions because they're what I intend. And if we all agree to these intentions, these are what builds trust in our container. So the first intention would be to listen from my heart. It's an interesting thing that comes first, that listening is probably the most important thing around communication. The second thing would be to speak from my heart or to express from there. The third would be to be succinct, to be lean or to get to the point. And the fourth would be, quite surprisingly, to be spontaneous. And being spontaneous is really about not planning and trusting what comes to me in the moment is true and authentic.
You said that talking and listening from the heart. What do you mean exactly?
Great question. What do I mean? It's taken me many years, really. I've had a sense of what that means, but I've been in the practice now for 14 years and have a sense that when I'm speaking from my heart, I'm really talking about something that I've lived. It's something that my cells remember because I walked it or I felt it. And when I express this story, you can feel it. You can feel that I'm telling you the truth. And you can just see a bit more about who I am. So it's not so much about ideas or philosophy. It's really about what I live. And that's kind of my wisdom, in a way. If I'm listening from my heart, then really I'm doing my best to put aside my own story and my judgments and my filters and really listen to you and to try to understand who you are. And it's not necessarily that I'm trying to agree with you. It's perhaps sometimes also said that if I listen to you from the aspect of being a grandfather or a grandmother, that kind of support.
How would this relate to people who don't like to use their emotions? For example, men, we don't like to get vulnerable with each other.
Right. I feel that men aren't so experienced with sitting together, especially in the circle. It's more about where I'm being the leader, and obviously you need to sit in rows and you need to listen to me because I have something important to say. Here in the circle, we're all practicing being on an equal basis. We're all the same distance from the centre, and then when I finish speaking and I hand the piece to you, you also have then all the attention of everybody. And this kind of makes us leaders in a way. When anybody is speaking, they are the leader. And we're all leaders and not leaders. And this is kind of slightly uncomfortable, I think, concept to a man, but I have experienced a great unity in that and a great solidarity, actually.
So confidentiality is really necessary there.
It's great that you mentioned that word. That's the fifth intention. You remember I said there are four intentions. There's a fifth one that's very, very important. If I'm going to build a relationship with you, it needs to be built on trust. And there's quite a lot of work and research done in how important trust is in any relationship, especially in learning environments. If I feel I can trust you, I can relax, and that frees up more energy, more juice for my brain, the way of thinking, way of working in harmony, and many more things can be produced in that way. So trust is absolutely the point, I think, in any kind of relationship, organisation, or teaching environment.
How would a way of counsel help if it was introduced in education, for example, T.E.Ì?
Great. So I know that in the world at large, I think there are 15,000 children also practicing counsel within education, which is a wonderful thing. In this particular environment, where there are students, teachers and assisting staff, I think the health and well-being and the social integration of all those people can really increase optimum learning. Counsel provides a container in the practice of developing the entrainment between the heart and the mind. And when those two are working well, it creates coherence. And coherence, again, as they produces an optimum learning situation.
So the students and teachers would communicate better and understand each other better?
Again, if I feel I trust you, if I'm working with you, I'm much more increased in my interest in working with you to find out what you think. And also I have to say the council or the circle creates a cross-fertilisation of ideas. I'm much more willing to share my ideas or see how my ideas can support the organisation.